Jets are over 500. No apologies need to be made, but a lot of work needs to be done. Let's talk about this game. And well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watu-K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. Quick reminder, we go live every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Please join me. It's going to be a great time. I got to tell you, this is the type of game that an ugly, playing below your level kind of game the Jets would have lost last season. Shoot, this is the type of game the Jets would have lost for the last decade. If we're being perfectly honest. I mean, it seems as though so many times over the years, the Jets, as well as anybody in the NFL, snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, and this time it was the opposite. They snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. And so, as undisciplined, as ugly, and as poorly coached as they were in this game, I mean, there are not a whole lot of positives to talk about. There are some. But as few positives as there are no style points. This is not Olympic gymnastics. And Robert Saleh was right. They don't care about how, they care about how many when all is said and done. So we're going to get into the three key plays you may not remember that affected the outcome of the game, and we'll get to those in a little bit. But before we do that, let's break down a couple of stats here. So the first thing I have to keep coming back to is the penalties and the third downs. The Jets had 9 penalties for 85 yards. You know, the Jets were one of the least penalized teams in the NFL for most of this season. But the complete lack of discipline was really frustrating to watch. None more so, I think, than the michealclemons offside on a punt that gave the ball to the Giants for an extra 5 minutes. You know, you could talk about the late hits and things like that. I still think the Jermaine Johnson one was a little bit ticky-tack. Oh, by the way, the Jets still did not get a roughing the passer penalty while their offense was on the field. Just thought I'd mention that. But the third downs, still a huge problem. It was 3rd and long all day long. They wound up going 2 for 15 on 3rd down. They didn't convert a 3rd down until Zachwilson ran for that one first down towards the end of regulation. This is maybe the most unbelievable stat to me. The Jets offense did not have a single play inside the Giants' 46-yard line until the last drive of regulation. Think about that. We're not talking the red zone. We're not even talking field goal range. They could not get inside the Giants' 46 because the breecehall touchdown was from midfield. And now I want to get into Zachwilson a little bit because this is, you know, he had a game where it seems like he regressed, but he stepped up in other moments. But the bottom line is this. 17 for 36, 240 yards, 1 touchdown, many fumbles. Some were his fault, some weren't. You know, there was some blindside pressure. I mean, Kayvonthibodeaux was a force in this game. I mean, he beat Mekhi Becton like he was a drum. You know, and he only attempted 4 passes to tight ends, which I didn't like. He was pressured on over 50% of his dropbacks. I expected Wilson to struggle, and losing 2 more offensive linemen, that didn't help matters at all. It got to the point when I was watching the game with the Virginia Jets fans, and my goodness, what a turnout we had for that game. But we had, I would say, about 40 people, 45 people. It was a huge turnout. And with about 10 minutes to go in the game, there were calls. People were chanting, "Bring in Boyle, bring in Boyle." I mean, we had people dressed up in their Halloween costumes trying to get Tim Boyle into the game. But, you know, for whatever you want to say about Zach Wilson, you know, you could say that he regressed. You could say he did not look confident. He did not look comfortable. And all of that would be true. But he did organize the team. He did lead them down the field. They got the spike, which I thought, and just about every Jet fan thought, when there were 10 seconds or so left in the game, that throw to allenlazard down the middle. I'm screaming as the ball's going down the middle of the field. Oh my God, why is the ball going down the middle of the field? Is the Giant defense just playing the sideline? Are the Jets going to have an open lane right to the end zone? And catches the ball. And the fact that they were able to get that spike down with 1 second to go on the clock, which we know has been a bugaboo for them earlier this season, that was pretty big. That was enormous, because how much would it have hurt? And how different are we all feeling today, whether you're a Jet fan, Giant fan, whatever you may be, if the Jets can't get that spike down and get the field goal off? But as far as, and here's the other amazing thing about the offense to me. Breecehall, 12 carries, 17 yards. I know it doesn't feel that way. But people were saying, feed Breece, feed Breece, feed Breece. The Giants were doing everything they could to take Breecehall out of the game. He had the 50-yard touchdown reception, or catch and run, we'll really call it. And that was fantastic. But other than that, Breecehall was quiet in this game. You know? So we have to keep that in mind here. So there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot. But again, I don't like that they don't give these tight ends a chance. And here's the other thing, and I'm going to keep coming back to it. When you're struggling to run the ball, don't you need to put in some personnel who's capable of opening up holes for the running game? Maybe put in Nick Barden, who gets under 5 snaps every single week? Yeah, just an idea. Just an idea. All right, couple things on this defense. 13 tackles for a loss combined, 4 sacks. Super, super impressive. Quincywilliams, 12 tackles. Jets held the Giants to 2 for 19 on third downs. I know the Giants got a lot of rushing yards, over 200. I understand that, but it did take 52 attempts. That's under 4 yards per run on average. Oh, and speaking of the Giants offense, has anybody seen Jalinhyatt? This all-world amazing wide receiver who's going to make everybody forget about Tyreek Hill and Jerry Rice and Randy Moss, who made the greatest incompletion in NFL history this preseason when he got a step or two on Saucegardner and the quarterback missed the pass. We were all waiting for the Jalinhyatt toast drop on Saucegardner. Did anybody see him on the field? Because I sure as hell didn't. Jalinhyatt, no catches, no yards, no targets. Jalinhyatt. Yeah. And as bad as you can say that the Jets coaching staff was, the Giants were worse. They coached scared. Once Tyrodtaylor went out of the game, they were never going to let tommydevito lose that game. I don't know what kind of offense they were running at Don Bosco Prep where he went to high school. I don't know. But apparently it did involve a whole lot of forward passing based off of this because, you know... yeah, how did the Jets, it's anybody could figure out, hand off to Barkley. And that's why the Jets had so many tackles for a loss. I mean, Barkley got his yards, but, eventually you had to figure out what was going on. And I felt the Giants actually made it easier for the Jets the way they coached that offense. But special teams, I tip my hat, had to do that real quick. Thomasmorstead, 3 punts inside the 5-yard line. And these were punts that, the Jets special teams were going to get and keeping them from going in the end zone. They were dying inside the 5-yard line on that wet MetLife Stadium turf. Morstead has to be special teams player of the week. I don't know how it could be anybody else. I know these FedEx awards or Pepsi awards or whoever's sponsoring the awards, they're a little bit hokey and whatnot, but everybody, we got to vote this week for Thomasmorstead for Special Teams Player of the Week. He deserves it. He loves being a Jet. Let's vote for him this week. But all in total, in this game, there were 23 points, but 24 punts. What else needs to be said? Oh, willmcdonald. Let's give him some credit. Great job on that final field goal attempt by the Giants to jump over the line, get up right in grahamgano's face. The kick goes wide. Great job by willmcdonald on special teams. So he is starting to contribute, and that's a very good feeling. And now you got 2 huge games coming up against wild card contenders in the Chargers and the Raiders. Bigger games than this one was, let's be honest. I know this was bragging rights, but still an NFC game. And, life is like the San Diego Chargers, which is also like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. You'll get a lot of points most of the time, but I think this Jets defense, we've seen what they've done against teams like Philadelphia and Kansas City. I think they're going to have a really, really good performance against the Chargers. I just worry if the offense is going to be able to keep pace. All right. That was a bit of a longer recap than I usually do. But let's get into it. The 3 key plays you might not remember that affected the outcome of the game. All right, play number 1. This is very early in the game. First quarter, 12:58 to go. The Jets have fumbled. And the Giants are starting on the Jets' 19-yard line. Wan'Dale Robinson runs for 7. So now it's 2nd and 3. Now, a lot of times we've talked about the Jets defense struggling on the first drive of games. Remember the 19-play drive they gave up to Philadelphia most recently. And then they eventually do settle in. So the Giants hand off to Saquon. Ashton Davis and Quincywilliams stop him for a loss of 1. Big stop. The Giants had a lot of momentum. They had to be feeling good about themselves right there. They score a touchdown. Who knows what happens? But that loss of 1 really limited what the Giants could do. It's now 3rd and 4. Incomplete pass. Giants settle for a field goal. The only one that grahamgano would kick successfully, I might add. All right, play number 2. We're going to go to the second quarter. There's 13:28 to go. Jets are now up 7-3. The Giants are driving, and this was not a good drive for the Jet defense. Al Woods got hurt. Same play. Quincywilliams takes the 15-yard penalty. By the way, Quincy, I love you. Great player. But after you have a penalty, he takes a penalty, and I got to see him doing push-ups on the MetLife Stadium turf. Quincy, what are you doing? Just, I don't know, doing the push-ups there just really bothered me. That got under my skin. All right, well, Tyrodtaylor then runs 17 yards to get the Giants into field goal range. And eventually the Giants have a 3rd and 5 at the Jets' 33. Now, with the rainy conditions, field goals are a little bit tough to come by. So Taylor finds Darrinwaller running a cross pattern, and Sauce is covering him. And Waller makes the catch, but Sauce takes him down just 1 yard shy of that first down marker. Fantastic tackle. It's also the play that took Darrinwaller out of the game with a hamstring injury, and it all but killed my fantasy team as it turns out, but that's another story. But the Giants have to settle for a field goal attempt. grahamgano misses the kick, and the Giants come up empty. Big opportunity that they blew. Great tackle by Sauce to make that tackle on a tight end. Well done. And play number 3. So this is when the Jets have the ball. I actually hesitated whether or not to include this play, but there's one aspect of the play that cannot be forgotten. Jets have the ball, final drive of regulation, 24 seconds to go from their own 25. There's barely a chance to win. Maybe, I've seen different places. A 3% chance, an 11% chance, whatever percent chance you want to put on it. You pretty much know one thing. If the Jets are going to do this, the Giants are going to have to do something stupid to allow the Jets to make the play to get back in this game, to tie it or to win it. So Zach, on that first play, throws a strike down the field to Garrett Wilson for 29 yards. But here's the key. The Jets have no timeouts left. They can't stop the clock, and they're going down the middle of the field. But on the play, Kayvonthibodeaux, who again was amazing in this game, maybe the best defensive player on the field for either team, goes offside. So it's basically a free play. It stops the clock automatically. Without that penalty, the Jets lose another 10 or 15 seconds. Not saying that they wouldn't have done it, but it really gave them the opportunity. In fact, it probably would. Because then they could have not have gone down the middle of the field to allenlazard over the middle for another 29 yards. They would have had to have used the sideline or throw the ball into the end zone. Big deal for that penalty by Thibodeaux because it allowed the clock to stop because the Jets had no timeouts left. So big play by Thibodeaux. Then, of course, as I said, the 29-yard strike to Lazard over the middle. The Jets make the field goal after spiking the ball with 1 second left, which pushed this absolute dreg of a game into overtime. And, of course, as we know, the Jets escape. I can't even say they won. It feels like the ultimate escape. And the Jets are over 500 after 7 games. So let's see what happens. Hopefully these offensive line injuries are not too serious. I will say the one thing. Joe Tippmann, I got a feeling he's going to be back pretty soon. If not this week against the Chargers, he'll be back against the Raiders because the Jets have not put him on IR yet where he would have had to have missed 4 weeks. That's about the one thing of optimism I'm holding on to, but very glad the Jets won, but I am relieved more than anything. It's a combination, I think I said this on Facebook, it's a combination of relief and disbelief, so I'm just going to call it disrelief. That's how I'm feeling today as a Jets fan. Well, thanks everybody for watching these videos, and like I said, I'll see you Wednesday night. We'll be doing our Wednesday night live show. I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where, the Wicker Chair.